Every day offers us a surprise if we're paying attention and if we notice things. I'm Joseph, this is Input English. The Input English channel was created for you. This is not a commercial operation. This is not designed to make a lot of money. I have no interest in going viral, and I don't produce or sell any products. The product is the input. Comprehensible input is the modern trend in language learning. It's not a gimmick. It is a method that takes advantage of our natural ability to acquire language if we can understand it. That's the challenge. The challenge is to find content that is spoken clearly and slowly enough that you can understand it. For many people around the world, the way I speak and the way I pronounce English is slow enough and clear enough that they can understand it. A lot of people have studied English in the past, studying the grammar and the vocabulary, but most of us, when we study languages, would like to be able to understand spoken language from native speakers. We want to be able to go to a movie. We want to be able to watch a television series. This is where Input English comes in. If you watch enough and listen enough to clearly spoken English that's a little slower, you will acquire the language. That's why I make these episodes. The other day I made a video at the farmer's market down in Santa Cruz. One of several big surprises for me as I made that video at the farmer's market was the presence of an old-time band. That traditional band included people playing the mandolin, banjo, guitar, string bass, and fiddle. We had a short discussion about fiddles versus violins, and I hope that that discussion was clear. Since that video was published, there was some interest in fiddles and violins, and that interest is what spawned this episode. Let me start by disclosing that I am not a big expert on violins or fiddle playing. I have learned things over the years, and I have an interest in playing the violin. So let me tell you a little story about violins and how they came into my life years ago. This is a violin. This is my violin. These instruments are made out of various materials, but a wooden violin typically is made out of maple, spruce, and ebony. The fingerboard is typically made of ebony, as are the pegs. The pegs are used to tighten the strings to set the pitch of each string. If you tighten the string, the pitch gets higher. In the modern era, instruments like this can be made out of synthetic materials, including carbon fiber. This is an old wooden violin. So if you'd like a violin, how can you get one? Well, you can buy new or used. In the United States, you can buy violins from Amazon, from eBay, from Goodwill. What is Goodwill? Goodwill is a charity organization in the United States that accepts donations, and then they resell those donations to make money. Goodwill doesn't refurbish anything that it gets as a donation. Everything is sold as is. You can buy a violin from Goodwill. With violins, you get what you pay for. You can buy a cheap violin made in a factory, made from poor materials with poor workmanship, and get a very cheap violin. But it will be difficult to play, and it is probably not a good idea to do that. You can spend millions to buy a violin. That's simply not necessary. For most of us, it's not necessary to look at the high end of violin prices. So what would be a good way to buy a violin? Well, I did not buy this one from eBay or Amazon. I didn't buy it online. I went to a violin shop. The salesperson was a violin player. He was a performer, and he could play the violin very well. He gave me advice, and he demonstrated a lot of violins. He didn't try to get me to spend more money than I wanted, but he also didn't try to sell me a very cheap violin that I would regret later. We looked for prices in between where the quality was good, but the price was reasonable. In some things in the 21st century, it is better to buy things new. Modern camera lenses, consumer electronics, computers, cell phones. Usually these products are better if you buy them new. With violins, that is not the case. You can buy very fine new violins made by hand by a luthier, but I chose to buy a used, older violin. This violin was made in Germany in the early part of the 20th century. It wasn't made by a single luthier by hand. It's not a custom-made violin, but it was not created in a huge factory with an assembly line cranking out cheap, poor quality violins. It was made in a shop with many luthiers, and they produced a lot of quality violins. If you buy a violin online, you might be offered a package deal so that you get a violin, a case, and a bow, all for one price. At the violin shop where I went, that was not the case. I selected the violin, then I selected a case, and then I bought a bow. I used the word bow, so let me show you a bow. This is the bow I purchased when I bought this violin. It's made out of a tropical hardwood, which is no longer plentiful. The wood is called Pernambuco. The bow has horsehair applied to it, and then there is a screw mechanism at the base. One can tighten the bow and stretch this horsehair to the right tension. When you're not using the bow, you release the tension on the horsehair so that it will last. The hair on the bow can be replaced in the violin shop by a luthier. The hair needs to be replaced fairly often if you play the violin a lot. In the modern era, these bows can be made of other materials. They can be made of other woods, and they can be made of carbon fiber. Some of the carbon fiber bows are excellent. Most people consider Pernambuco the standard for making violin bows. One of the reasons that I chose to go to a violin shop is I wanted to start out with a violin that worked well so that I would not be frustrated with how the violin was set up. This part of the violin here is called the bridge, and it needs to be the right shape. It needs to be the right size, and it determines how far the strings are away from the fingerboard. If the bridge is in the wrong place or it's the wrong shape, the violin will be very difficult to play. Another part that can be changed here is the chin rest. The chin rest comes in many different shapes and sizes, and changing the chin rest may make it easier for the player to handle his or her violin. So why did I buy a violin? Well, simply put, I wanted to learn how to play it. The first step in the process of learning to play the violin is to get access to a violin. The easiest way for me to do so was to buy one. You can rent these from a music store or a violin shop. That's commonly what's done for children to see if they're really interested in pursuing the violin. I chose to buy this one. They tend to hold their value, so if one buys a good violin and then later loses interest, the violin can be sold and much of the cost of the violin can be recovered when you sell that violin to someone else. Then you might wonder why I don't play the violin now. Simply put, life showed up. Things happened. One of the things that happened was the pandemic. The pandemic changed a lot of things in a lot of people's lives, and one of the things that got put away and not thought about much was the violin. Before the pandemic, my wife and I played the violin together. We really enjoyed that. She took lessons from a teacher, and I could best be described as self-taught. I found some information on the internet and taught myself what I could. My wife and I traveled to the East Coast and took a class at the John C. Campbell Folk School. This is an interesting place in North Carolina where people can learn a lot of different skills, so we took a fiddling class together. There were about 10 people in the class, and over a period of a week, we learned how to play several songs. The class started on Monday morning, and then Friday afternoon we performed in front of about 150 or more people. It was a lot of fun, and she and I really enjoyed that experience of playing music together. At the moment, I don't plan to set learning to play the violin as a high priority. I would like to play the violin, but I have too many other things going on right now. I don't choose to set the violin as a high priority. Instead, I keep it in the case in a cool area in the house, knowing that in the future I can get it out and resume playing the violin. I really should take some lessons from a qualified teacher. As I explained in the previous video at the farmer's market, this can be called a violin, or you could call it a fiddle. It's the same instrument. The class that we took in North Carolina was a fiddling class, and the songs we played were traditional fiddling tunes. I also really like classical music played on the violin. The opportunities to play beautiful music on the violin are basically unlimited. It just takes an interest, access to a violin, ideally some sort of instruction, adequate practice, and one can learn to play the violin. A lot of fiddle players, a lot of violin players playing traditional fiddle music in the United States are really self-taught. These days, in the 21st century, there is a lot of help available online. I have used the website Violin Lab as an excellent source of learning good technique to play the violin. But for now, I'm not setting that as a priority. I'm going to put this in its case and put it in a safe place in the house, a place that doesn't get too hot, and hopefully in the future I will find the time that I can set the priority of learning how to play this beautiful little instrument. I invite comments below, and if you like videos like this, be sure to click on this one next. See you soon.